Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at an old Homelite XL chainsaw. The customer request was just to replace the recoil rope, or fix the recoil rope. I don't know, came in without a spark plug in it, so he must be a DIYer, but not to the extent of being able to fix the rope. Either way, I'm going to take a look at the piston just to make sure this is worthwhile repair. It's something I always do, and it's pretty easy to pop the muffler off of these old saws and take a look inside. Problem is I can't turn the crankshaft right now to get a good look at the skirt of the piston. So we're going to pull the starter mechanism, starter cover off of here. We got to do that anyway for fixing the rope. Just be careful because the kill switch is in the cover and there's a wire that runs to the ignition module. And that came apart when I pulled the cover off, so we're going to stick that back in place so it's ready to go when we reassemble. So now that I can turn the crankshaft, we're going to take a look at that piston and see what it looks like. There's a lot of carbon in the exhaust port, but the skirt, the piston, that all looks fine. We'll put the muffler back on and move ahead with the starter rewind repair. Okay, so what do we got? The rope looks like it's in decent shape. I think the knot just pulled out. I'm not going to replace the rope. I'm going to reuse it. I don't think this guy wants to spend any money anyway, so at 50 cents a foot, that's probably too much for him. Alright, first thing I want to do is make sure that the spring isn't broken. And if we kind of wind it up a little bit and let go and it springs back, that usually tells us that the spring's okay. You can see where the knot tore out on the end of the rope, so we'll cut that clean and singe the end of it so it doesn't fray anymore. This is the way I always do it. I hold it with a towel, burn it, and then pull it through the towel, and that leaves a nice crisp end that you can feed through a smaller hole in a pulley. This is a pretty simple setup on here for feeding the rope in. Some are more complicated than others, but it seems like the old stuff is the easiest stuff to work on. Now I can already hear the keyboard clatter and the viewers that are yelling at their monitor right now. Yeah, there's something wrong here. And in my mind, I know there's something wrong here. I just can't put my finger on it. So I'm going to dig a little bit into this. Look at the spring. I probably should look at it anyway just to see what's going on under there. But something's bothering me right now and I just can't quite place it. And if you've done any of these before, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, you're going to have to stick around a little bit and see what I'm talking about here when we get to that point. So putting this, you see there's a little catch on the bottom of that pulley that grabs the spring. Sometimes getting that to lock in is a pain. You can see the pulley's not seated all the way down right now, but on this particular pulley, you have access all the way through and you can kind of manipulate that spring enough to get it to seat. And right there you see it dropped in place. Now the pulley's kind of flush there with the cover. We'll get this screw back down and keep moving forward with the repair. Even though there's still something wrong. 3/4 of an ugga-dugga. That ought to hold it. Alright, we're going to want to put a knot in the end of the rope. In this case, I'm going to use a figure 8 because I think there's enough space in that pulley for the figure 8 to pull through but the rope not to pull, through the remaining hole in the pulley. I'm going to push the knot down in there. And I think that'll hold. Alright, now what? Well, there you go. If you didn't know what was wrong before, you do now. I should have snaked that rope through the eyelet of the starter cover before I pushed it through the pulley and tied a knot. Yeah, I know.
Bullshit level, DEFCON 5.
But that's just the way it goes sometimes. But my mistake is your gain, because now you can see what the other end looks like. This metal tube just holds the knot. So we'll cut the old knot off, remove the recoil handle, and then we're going to burn an end on the rope so that it doesn't fray. And now we'll do what I should have done the first time, push the rope through the starter cover eyelet. Put the handle back on, put the little tin box back on, just put an overhand knot in the rope and pull it all back together. I really like this style of recoil handle with this metal piece in it. It's clean and simple and strong. Looks kind of good too. Alright, now because there's a slot in the pulley, we're able to wind the rope up and put tension on the spring. You gotta be careful though. The more times you wind the rope, the more twists you get in the string, and then sometimes it's kind of hard to pull it back through. So it's not quite tight enough yet. The rope rewind isn't winding up tight. So we're going to grab the rope again, pull out some slack, and give it a couple more winds. Now it pulls the rope all the way in, and we just want to make sure that when we pull the rope all the way out, we're not pulling against spring tension. There's still a little bit of play there that it could wind out farther if it had to. Now that we have the rewind assembly repaired, we'll put our kill wire back on and reinstall our starter cover. That's all I got for you on the Homelite XL starter rope repair. Thanks for watching. Later.